Hello, everyone. Welcome to this information session ahead of the Cape Town Disabled Open at King David Mowbray, joined by Sadgud Chief Rules Official Inus Marais. Inus, thank you so much for taking the time.
Morning, Craig. Always happy to be involved.
So I guess let's jump right into the questions, if you don't mind. Could you outline any local rules that the players need to be aware of at King David Mowbray?
Absolutely. Before I start, then it's a very good point of departure, Craig. I just need to mention that and confirm with players that it is absolutely in their best interest and best practice, once they get to any golf course where they're going to play either in a tournament or even social play, to take the local rules of that course and to make sure that they understand what are they going to see on this course and how they should react, whether they're going to be dropping zones, whether there are certain special penalty areas, whatever the case might be. The local rules is your point of departure. Before you go on a course, you look at that and you make sure that you understand and you know what you could encounter and how you could react to that. So it's fantastic that we start with the local rules. Let me just explain something else before we get to maybe King David Mowbray's local rules, and that is that there is also a hard card, which is the local rules that are in effect for SADGA players anywhere they play in a tournament of SADGA throughout the year. Any of the provincial tournaments or any other tournament that may be specially organized. So the hard card are those local rules that, irrespective of the course they're going to, that are also in effect. And let me just give you one example. One of the hard card local rules say that the 2x2 rule, as we call it, will be in effect, which means that if you have a sprinkler head or any other obstruction close to the putting green within 2 club lengths, and your ball is within 2 club lengths of that sprinkler head on the fairway, and it is in your line of play, you want to putt to the pin, then you're allowed to drop away at the nearest point. So there are special hard card rules that the guys must also just look at. It's on the website before they come to the Cape Town tournament. So about King David Mowbray and what local rules would and might be in place when we get there. Unfortunately, it's still a bit quite some time before the tournament on the 12th and 13th of November, and local rules are usually finalized a day or two before the tournament starts to make sure that, like preferred lies, will we have preferred lies? You only make that decision 1 or 2 days before the tournament. The default position is we don't like preferred lies. We like the people to play the course as they find it, but there might be rain a day or two before, there might be a lot of mud or a lot of temporary water around. Then a tournament organizer will say, listen guys, I'm going to have a nice, fair and equitable game of golf. I'm going to give you preferred lies. So one of the things we'll decide just before the tournament whether it'll be preferred lies or not. At King David Mowbray, and this is different to what you'll probably see at other courses, there are many drainage ditches all around the course. And by November, they should be quite dry. And the King David Mowbray plays those draining ditches not as penalty areas, but they play them as part of the general area. So that's one thing that the guys should be looking at. If they get in one of those ditches, it's play the ball as it lies. It's not a penalty area. If you drop out under unplayable, obviously you get 1-stroke penalty, but you can usually play from those ditches, and it is not a penalty area. But we'll confirm that again on the local rules when the guys come to the tournament. Then something else, we'll definitely have trees there with white stakes, which you're not allowed to play from to protect the trees. So you have to drop away under no penalty. So you drop away at the nearest point of relief. There are tree routes. This is something that a lot of courses in Cape Town now specifically has brought in as a local rule. There are many trees on these park-like courses, and those tree roots encroach onto the fairway. And there's a local rule in place also at King David Mowbray that if you are interfered, your swing or the lie of your ball, not your stance, by a tree root, you will be able to take free drop away from the tree root if that tree root is either on the fairway or within 4 club lengths from the fairway's edge. The reason being so that a guy who goes just off the fairway gets the same relief than a guy who's just on the fairway. It's just to make provision for those guys. So that's a new one. And then I think we've had some scenario. We're probably going to have drop zones. There's a drop zone usually at the 6th hole. There's a drop zone behind the 16th hole. And all drop zones are there to make it easy and quick for a player to take relief, because the one at the 6th hole, there's a road and there's that a driveway that goes underneath the train rails, and the gardens around it. So if your ball goes in there, you miss time to try and find out, where do I drop my ball and where did it go in and what happened. So there's a drop zone. Go drop in the drop zone and play from there. So obviously, drop zones are optional. You are still welcome to use some of the other ones, but they are optional. And then the other thing that we always do for our players, our disabled players, is we treat all gardens, planted gardens, as GUR, a ground under repair. So you can take a free leaf from the garden itself. The reason being, we don't want guys, especially guys with limbs, etc., to go in and try and play a ball, or it's because it's usually gardens and uneven ground and whatever. So we give them free relief. One of the questions I remember from a year or two back, Craig, is that if you don't find your ball in the garden, but everyone saw it go in there, it's gone in there, then you can take relief, still free relief, from where it went into the garden, the edge, where you saw your ball go in the garden. From there, you can take your nearest point of complete relief and then take your drop and play on without any penalty. So, guys, I'm sorry I can't give you a little bit more detail about specific local rules. It's a little bit early for that. We'll do that before the tournament, and we'll have it available on your website before you even come to the tournament. But look out for the drainage ditches. Look out for maybe some drop zones that we'll do have there, and we'll put it down on the local rule, and then obviously 3 routes, which is something new, and then we'll decide about preferred lies a day or two before the tournament.
Cool, thank you so much. That definitely more than covers local rules. For those who are unsure, please explain the difference between red and yellow stakes and the procedure the players should follow in each scenario.
All right, you're talking about penalty areas now that can either be marked yellow or can be marked red. And there's actually only just one difference between the two. When you and I talk about the A, B, C, if the guys just remember A, B, and C, if you go into a yellow penalty area, now that's usually a penalty area, sometimes a little dam in front of the green on a par 3, or a dam in front of a green on a par 4, etc. And the idea is that you have to, as part of the integrity of that hole, part of the challenge of playing that hole is you have to cross that penalty area to get onto the green. And it's marked yellow. Yellow means you have to go across the water, always across the water. If you go in the water, you can't get other relief than having to go over the water again. Now, A in penalty area relief is A means again. I can play the ball again. So that's under stroke and distance. If you hit a ball in a penalty area, a chip or whatever, you can drop where you've played from and play another ball with a penalty of 1 shot. A means again. B means back on the line. So you look at where the ball went into the water, where it last crossed the edge of the penalty area. You then take a line from that edge point and the pin, where the pin is, and you then keep that on a line, and you go back on that line as far as you want. That's absolutely as far as it pleases you, because you want a fuller shot in, or whatever the case might be, and you can drop anywhere on the course. When you go back on the line, you can drop in a bunker, you can drop in another penalty area, you can drop on the fairway, wherever that line takes you, and how far you want to go back, that's back on the line. That's B. Now, let me just, Craig, confirm at January this year that how you drop back on the line has changed a little bit. The rule now says is that you've got an imaginary line as you go back. You have to drop your ball on that line. So that it drops on the course on that line. And then there's a circle of 1 club length around that point where the ball's dropped. And the ball may roll within that circle, forward, backwards, sideways. As long as it's in the circle, it is correctly dropped and you can play from there. If it goes outside the circle, it runs down, then you drop a second time. If it then runs away again, then you normally place the ball where it last touched the course. So that's your yellow penalty area. I can't remember at this stage if we have any and how many we have at KDM. Most courses have now done away with yellow penalty areas unless you want the guy to go across water again, and marked it red. Now, red is the more common penalty areas, and red has one additional relief, which is C, which is 2 clubs. C is for clubs. So you get, for red, you get A. You can play the ball again from where you were. You get B. You're going to go back on the line where it last crossed the edge of the red penalty area. And then you get C, which you don't get at the yellow penalty area. C means 2 club lengths. 2 club lengths from where the ball entered the penalty area. You can mark out 2 club lengths. That becomes your relief area, and you drop a ball there. So it's a sideways relief, because red penalties are normally next to a fairway or a stream running next to a hole, and you drop to the side, and from there you play your ball on. Also, everything a penalty of 1 shot. So if the guys just remember A, B, C, again, back on the line, clubs, 2 club lengths. That's the magic key to remember what to do when your ball enters a penalty area.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was actually very, very handy, and I'm sure a lot of players will draw on that when they need to during the event. Could you explain? So, pace of play is always obviously something that is discussed at these events. Could you explain or provide a little bit more clarity on the pace of play that the players are required to abide by?
Yeah, Craig, that. Let me just confirm, why pace of play is so important, and why there are pace of play guidelines and regulations and penalties if you don't abide and if you waste time, etc. Everybody all over the world, when playing golf, they have to have the same fair and equitable chance to play a shot. And everybody gets the same time to play a shot. And you have to, when you're a golfer, you have to learn to play within a certain number of seconds to play a shot. Otherwise, it will drag on for days and days and days, and nobody finishes in time. So just to confirm, it's not something that referees like. We don't like enforcing pace of play, etc. But it's something that's there to make sure that the field flows and that every single player gets the exact same time to complete a shot and complete a putt or whatever the case might be. So that's why pace of play is very important. Now, when in general, principles for pace of play, it starts with the draw. It's interestingly enough. If you have players of different abilities, you will group them differently to make sure that they can stay within the group, within the pace of play allocated to a group. You will also make sure that when you set people off and your starting times, if you put people off 7 minutes, 4 balls, 7 minutes from each other, you are going to run into one another. That's why there's a starter and there's a starting time. 10 minutes is ideal because if something happens and someone's looking for a ball, they're going to have time to get away so that the next group can go off. Otherwise, you end up with problems just later on the course. So with the disabled tournaments, it's important to start off, when you talk about pace of play, to start off with the correct draw. And Lily and the committee, takes a huge effort in making sure that we put players together and that we put groups in after one another who would be able to keep up with the pace of play. An example, we will usually put 2 blind players together and not 3. If the guys are playing in groups of 3, because a blind player, and we just know that, unfortunately, needs to take a little bit more time, has a guide lining up, etc. And we know that, and we allow for that, by the draw to start off with, so that they feel comfortable and can play within the groups without being chased around and without falling behind and keeping groups behind them slower. So that would be an example. And that's why also when we have tournaments, you will have players under a certain handicap that are experienced and skillful players, they play medal, and you'll have other players of higher handicaps playing Stableford points, so that once they get to a certain point on a hole where they can get no more points, they can pick up and move on. That's all to help pace of play. It's difficult to manage pace of play individually, shot timing, because, as I've said, the rules does allow for players with disability. You're more lenient on pace of play. But as a general rule, we set ourselves a target on holes, and also after 18 holes, at what pace players should be finishing off 18 holes. And I think the general advice I can give the players are the following. When you're in a group, we've set the groups out, as I've just explained with the draw, to make sure that there's a flow and a correct flow of golf being played. Just stay with the group ahead of you. If you're falling behind, and you will know that, and you will see that, then there's a problem. And then we will come to you and say, guys, sorry, look at that. The guys ahead are already on the next hole, and you haven't even started this one. So please pick up your pace and just try and get into position again. Being in position, Craig, means that if on a par 4, the guys are finishing off putting on the par 4, then the group behind them should be on the tee box of that par 4 teeing off. At least one guy should be teeing off before they leave the green on a par 4. And on par 5s, everyone should have teed off when they leave the par 5's green. On a par 3, you're on the tee box when they're still on the green, and you're waiting, you're getting your distances, etc. ready. So if guys can help us with that, just by trying to stay with the group ahead of them, everybody's going to have a nice time.
Perfect. So in the event of a shortened tournament, which hopefully in November won't be the case, but in the event of a shortened tournament due to adverse weather, etc., how many holes would constitute an official result?
Yeah, when we look at and you often see this on the Sunshine Tour, when there's adverse weather conditions, they come the next morning and play earlier, etc. We're looking at a tournament over 2 days with 2 rounds, so it makes it a little bit easier. I can offhand tell you that if it's a 1-day tournament and you don't finish the tournament, you cancel it, then the round is cancelled and the tournament is cancelled. You cannot say after 9 holes we'll have a tournament or something, because it's unfair, because people start on the first hole and they play 1 to 9, and other people start on the 10th hole and 10 to 18. So it's not fair to compare the holes and the challenges they've encountered with one another. If you have 2 rounds, like a Sunday and a Monday, like we're going to have in November, then the committee can decide that a tournament can be completed after 1 round only. So it could mean that, let's say on the Sunday, the first day, there's a hell of a lot of rain in the afternoon and we stop play. We will then on Monday morning probably complete that round. So the players will go back to where they were when they got off the field and complete that round early on Monday morning. If there's time available, we'll complete round 2 as well. It's a nice day and we've got enough time and it's light till late, so we can complete round 2. If, however, Sunday is a bit of a washout and only a few holes were played or whatever, the committee can make a few decisions. I'm going to ignore that first round, the few holes that the guys played, and we start on Monday with a 1-round tournament. Or we're going to say, guys, on Monday morning, we're going to complete Sunday's round. There won't be time available to complete round 2, so we're going to have a tournament after round 1. So you can hear it. I can't say exactly what's going to happen up front. It will depend on weather, time available to complete round 2, etc., etc. So yes, we can also have a tournament with only 1 round, but that's the committee decision there.
Perfect. So if your ball is against a fence, which is not uncommon at Mowbray in particular, what are the relief options available to you as the player?
Okay, I'm laughing because not uncommon to Mowbray, it's not uncommon to a lot of places, but I don't find any fences on the fairway, Craig. So maybe if the guys stay on the fairway, no problem. But okay, let's just distinguish quickly between two things. The one is a fence that you find on the course, which might be a hedge or a piece of a fence around a teeing area or something. That would be an obstruction, an immovable obstruction, and you can take free relief from that. Nearest point of complete relief for your ball lying near it, your swing going into the fence if you stand where the ball is lying and you swing, or you're standing up against a fence and you can't play. That's free relief under Rule 16, and that is the nearest point of complete relief. Drop your ball and play on. No penalty. However, the fence I think you might also be referring to is the boundary fence. In other words, there are the boundary fence. Now, a boundary fence is a special fence. It is not an immovable obstruction. It is called in the rules a boundary object, and you get no free relief from that. So you can do two things. You can try and play the ball as it lies, try and a funny kind of swing or something to try and get the ball forward or away from the fence. Or obviously you can take an unplayable ball. So unplayable means, that's Rule 19, you can take a 2 club length area away from where the ball is lying. That forms a relief area, and you can drop your ball there and play on. But that is a penalty of 1 shot. Or you could, if you want to, go back to where you hit your previous shot under unplayable rule, or Rule 18, the stroke and distance one. So you can either do that. But unfortunately, with a boundary fence, and there are, as you say, there are many, and there are hedges. There are also the fence next to the railway line, and there are also some wired fences around the course, and that is a penalty drop for unplayable if you're unable to play the ball as it lies.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, this is hopefully a scenario people won't encounter during the event, but if you hit a tee shot on a par 3 into the water and there's no drop zone, can you use point of entry as a point of reference and play a 3 from there?
Absolutely. That's what we discussed just now on the options for your penalty area. Your A, B, and C. Your A meaning you can hit the shot again, but B, and I think that's the one you're referring to, that's where you last cross the penalty area. That's your reference point, and from there you can go back on the line. And with a red penalty area, you can even go to the side and drop 2 club lengths to the side. If a drop zone is only done by a committee if any of these options we've just mentioned, there's no space, there's bush or something, and you entered from there, you can't drop there somewhere. To be fair to the player, he's taking a penalty drop, so then you put a drop zone down. But drop zones are not common unless there's, as I've said, a very specific reason. So yes, you use the options by dropping back on the line or dropping at the point of entry to the side if it's a red penalty area. Absolutely. That's the way to go.
Perfect. And then finally, what is the procedure if you play the wrong ball?
A wrong ball is a very specific rule that requires you to go back, ignore the wrong ball and go back. If you hit a wrong ball, it means that you're not completing this hole with the ball you should be playing with, your own ball. And so that's why it's quite drastic. The rules are regarding a wrong ball. Number one, you get a 2-stroke penalty immediately, which you have to add to your score for that hole. Number two, any shots that you hit, I've just hit the wrong ball. Oh my gosh, I get a 2-stroke penalty. Do I still get a penalty for the shot that I've now hit? No. Everything with that wrong ball is ignored. So you get a 2-stroke penalty. Plus, you need to rectify it. You need to find your original ball. Where's the one I just hit off the tee? If you find it, you then play it, you finish the hole, and you add the 2 penalty strokes for a wrong ball. If you don't find your ball, because you were looking for a ball, someone in the grass, oh, this is my ball, I hit it, I get to the fairway, oh gosh, this is not my ball, I have to go and find it now. If I don't find it, I have to assume it's a lost ball. Then I have to go back to the tee or where my previous shot was, and I add another penalty to that. And then the other reason why this is also special, if you finish a hole with the wrong ball and you tee off from the next hole, you're immediately disqualified because you've played a whole hole without playing your correct ball. You haven't rectified it. So a wrong ball is quite drastic, quite severe, and just enforces the penalty of the principle of golf is played with your own ball. And you have to make sure that you play your own ball. There is no reason to play a wrong ball. Guys, we've all done it. I've done it. There's no reason because, Craig, you've got the ability to, any ball on the course, to put the tee in, to mark the ball, to pick it up, to make sure it's my ball, and to put it down and play it. Don't assume, don't play a wrong ball. 2-stroke penalty immediately. You can absolutely avoid it under Rule 7. Mark your ball, your ball, whatever one. Say, guys, I just want to check. It's my ball. Put it down exact spot and then play it. You don't need to hit the wrong ball.
One of the players asked whether the player whose ball was played would incur any punishment of any sort.
No, nothing at all. Unfortunately, he's an innocent bystander. But that ball, if it's his ball, let's say it's not a stray ball, it's not a ball just lying on the course, it's another player's ball that you've hit. That ball obviously then needs to come back, either that ball or another ball, because he's now here, and then he places that ball. It's placing the ball. You don't need to drop it. You place it on the spot where it was. If you don't know exactly where it was, you estimate, you put the ball down, and that player incurs no penalty at all.
Perfect. Inus, well, you've been fantastic in your answers, and on behalf of Sadgo, I just want to thank you so much for again
sorry.
Yes, 100%.
Craig, sorry. One thing I just want to, because we're talking rules and we're talking what happens if I do this wrong or that wrong or whatever. Can I just emphasize to the guys, please, if you're unsure what to do on the course, and there's a referee, I'm going to be at King David, but I'm not all over the course, and you're unsure whether you can take a drop now or you get relief or no relief, please use the opportunity that the rules give you to play 2 balls. Announce to your fellow players, listen, guys, I really don't know whether now I can drop here or whether this is GOR or not, or this is the right spot to drop. I'm going to play 2 balls. So announce it before you hit the shot. And then before you hit any of those 2 balls, announce which one, if it's within the rules, you'd like to count. By doing that, I then, as the committee, can afterwards say, you played that ball and that ball. You could get relief. So you wanted the ball you took relief with to count. So that score is the score for your hole. It's as easy as that. It prevents you from getting any unnecessary penalties, and it helps you to enable you to take a drop and use that score if that's the one that you really wanted to count, but you were unsure whether it's going to work. So use that two ball principle. It does work. It does help you, not prevent you from getting any penalties.
100%, because guys, also remember that if you, for whatever reason, sign an incorrect scorecard because you haven't followed the due procedure, then that will obviously have implications as well.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Inus, well, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to having you at the event, and thank you for everything you've done for the Sadgo over the last couple of years.
Thank you, and good luck, guys, and practice well, and I hope we can have a lovely tournament.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening.